Welcome back, and here we are to another off-the-cuff video. Those types of videos where I gather up 3 or more topics that have occurred over the last couple of weeks. These takes are, as you would expect, shortened to keep the length of the video down. But as always, the sources I compiled to address these topics will be left in the description, so feel free to look into them yourselves, if you please, and contrive your own opinions. But I'm just addressing these topics because I like to do it as more of an overview of the month, if you will. But without further delay, let's continue with this, shall we? The first topic of discussion on the chopping block, as it were, is the supposed suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein? I want to say Epstein. Feel free to correct me in the comments. Anyway, Epstein. Pedo extraordinaire and buddy-buddy with not only the Clintons, but other members of the higher echelons of society. Now, his death no doubt gave birth to conspiracy theories, as one would expect. However, unlike 9/11 truthers, flat earthers, and other various conspiracy theorists, there seems to be a generally unanimous agreement amongst people, from the left to the right, and even beyond that, that his supposed suicide was fishier than an Alaskan tuna fishing vessel. But why does his death in particular invoke such a reaction from people who are normally polar opposites and at each other's throats over what seems to be any other topic, aside from the disturbing painting of old Bill that was hung up in Epstein's house? Bill supposedly visited the island, but as one would expect, he denied the claim. In recently unsealed documents from a lawsuit, however, various other members of the higher class have been accused of engaging in, let's just say, unscrupulous acts, to which they also deny. The Forbes article I pulled this info from can be found linked in the description. The reality is, despite the fact the coroner ruled the death as a suicide and a current prisoner, in an interview stated that since Epstein had been removed from suicide watch when he was determined to no longer be at risk himself by a psychologist, and of course the falsifying of surveillance footage or of surveillance documents by the guards who had supposedly fallen asleep, it doesn't add up. There's a lot of it's fishy. It doesn't make a whole lot of fucking sense. And this, of course, adding fuel to the flames, there's the whole broken hyoid bone, which occurs more commonly in strangulations than in hangings, suicide or otherwise. All of this culminates into a series of coincidences that roll the dice a bit too far favorably for those that stood to be implicated by Epstein if he was allowed to continue living. And of course, there's the inevitable maelstrom of accusations, documents, and information that he most likely would have divulged to save his skin from serving a longer prison sentence or going to a higher security facility, or even both for that matter. The reality is that it was too much of a coincidence. It didn't make any fucking sense for this guy to just suddenly die of suicide, an apparent suicide. And they're doing everything they possibly can to fucking bury it. It's creepy. It doesn't make any sense. However, the FBI has been viewed by drones seemingly raiding his island, showing some, well, interesting things, as you can see here. Of course, the mainstream media doing, well, what you'd expect them to do, and dismissing the very justified skepticism behind Epstein's death as conspiracy theories or trolls has only fueled the flames, because, let's be honest here, the mainstream media dismissing this only seems to make them wholly in the pocket of the same elite that would stand to be exposed if Epstein had been allowed to reveal all the information regarding what had been going on in the circles that he was very obviously involved in. It's just, it's a whole lot of fishiness going on regarding that guy's death. But anyway, though, I'm not going to ride on the coattails of conspiracy theory for this whole thing. Let's move on before the pedo vibes get a little too heavy around here and move on to something a little more, well, I was going to say lighthearted, but, well, it doesn't involve kid diddlers, so there's that. While those of us in the West and in the States, to be more specific, are giving up our individual rights in trade for a seemingly vacuous safety, or for the mere idea of security divulged from the childish belief that law will stop criminals of all fucking things, people on the other side of the world are fighting against the force of a communist regime and an authoritarian regime. I'm talking, of course, about the protests in Hong Kong, who have their sights aimed directly at Beijing, albeit in a disorganized fashion, which admittedly makes it more difficult for the police to react to their actions. Their cries of revolution and their determination to not only allow the commies to absorb Hong Kong into mainland China have left a poor taste in the mouths of the authoritarian communist government. The protesters, being of a younger generation, have to deal with the fact that the autonomy that Hong Kong has been enjoying under the deal drawn up in '97 will come to an end in their time, and will inevitably lead to Beijing closing their hands around Hong Kong, relinquishing their freedoms, and forcing the city to be yet another cog in the communist system. The situation seems to have escalated as Chinese military amasses near the borders of Hong Kong. This wouldn't be the first time a communist regime used the forces of the military to coerce the people into submitting to their beliefs. Just look into history. Regardless, these protesters have even gone as far as waving the U.S. flag and singing the U.S. national anthem, as well as the Do You Hear the People Sing from Les Miserables. Les Miserables. I don't know how to fucking pronounce it. I'm not French. This being juxtaposed against those of us in the West doing the exact opposite and voluntarily surrendering our rights on a regular basis. With these protests, however, they have gained support from many of us, supporting their desire to free themselves from the possibility of communist control and the boot of authoritarian government. And many of us see these people protesting this authoritarian government and continue to look at the people in the United States that continue to want us to give up our rights and look at them like, really? Yeah, you want to continue to surrender your rights, do you? There are people fighting for those same rights, you fucking cuntwad. Anyway, moving on. And we all wish them the best. Anyway, back to the United States and our politics over here on the other side of the proverbial pond, if it were. I'm going to follow that last topic in my previous rant with one that I'm putting in place for poetic reasons, if you will. Democrats have had no issues whatsoever standing on graves to push political agendas here in the States. Not to say that Republicans haven't done the same. But in recent years, as the political divide strengthens and Dems and cons alike feed the fire with equally authoritarian coal to appease their unwashed masses, those of us who are not of the political class suffer the inevitable trickle-down effect of their cheese dick ideas. This one is no different. In a run-up to the 2020 elections, and any other elections really, the gerrymandering of legislation seems to reach a peak as those who are running attempt to appeal to the masses. But a representative from Rhode Island by the name of David Cicilline, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. Anyway, he authored some legislation that, this one. Stupid to say the least. Looking to ban, of all things, semi-automatic firearms. Now, I remember not that long ago, I'm not going to pull it up now because this isn't off the cuff and it would require me to look back a couple years into articles to find where there was a Democrat from California that stated that they wanted to ban semi-automatic fully automatic rifles. And a lot of people that are pro Second Amendment and pro firearm poked fun at this legislator for doing that. And everybody that was all for gun control is like, oh, they're just picking out this one individual to make the rest of us look stupid. No, shit like this makes you look stupid. This just goes to show that 200 House Democrats have no idea what a semi-automatic fucking weapon is. Or maybe they do, and they're doing this intentionally to throw as many people that are firearm owners in prison as they possibly fucking can. Now, I'm sure that my subscribers are more than aware of what constitutes a semi-automatic rifle, or a semi-automatic weapon in general for that matter, but just for the sake of clarity, I'll give a shortened description of what constitutes a semi-automatic firearm. Now, when I say firearm, that is the proper nomenclature for what would be constituted as a rifle, a shotgun, or a handgun. You do not call them guns, you call them firearms. Now, a semi-automatic firearm is any weapon that doesn't require the intervention of the user to cycle around. This includes semi-automatic shotguns, most modern rifles, and handguns, and basically leaves you bolt-action rifles and revolvers and pump-action shotguns. And there's also a level of ambiguity, that's usually written into these laws that allows tyrants to take advantage of said ambiguity in wording to push further legislation or justify search and seizure under premises that violates a person's individual fucking rights. Point in case from the bill itself. And if any doubt that these tyrants will use emotion and tragedy to further the political agenda, I simply point to this. While these suit-wearing snakes use the power of the pen to constantly restrict your rights to defend yourself, keep in mind that they are guarded by armed guards almost all of the fucking time. If not all the time, of course, some of the time. The postulating doesn't end there. As they continue their tirade, they also continue to spread disinformation. Despite what anti-gun advocates would lead you to believe, the AR-15 is not a military weapon. It is merely based and loosely at that on the M16, not containing within and of itself an amalgamation of steel and plastic, an automatic receiver, and being constructed even slightly differently than the regular standard issue M16, even though I'm fairly certain it's not called the M16 now. That being said, that this raises the question, if it's okay for the police and the U.S. military to carry the rifles that they use to kill far more people than U.S. citizens do every year with legally owned rifles, why aren't we aiming to disarm the military and the police? Is it because since they have the backing of the states, the Dems are okay using that power to enforce their political will? It wouldn't come as a surprise after all. Kamala Harris herself has no issue appeasing the prison industrial complex, while ironically claiming to fight for the good of the impoverished. Also, if one looks into the statistics, they'll find that murders by rifles have been on the decline, as a matter of fact, and in fact, rifles are hardly even the main cause of homicide when it comes to fucking firearms. And that handguns hold the crown. Not only do they hold that crown, but they hold it by a very large fucking margin. Followed, of course, by knives. Then personal weapons, such as a person's hands and their feet. Then blunt objects. And then, finally, the boogeyman that hides in every Dem's closet that's looking to further their political career, lying down quietly betwixt the fucking presence of free stuff and other bullshit. Right next to racism and white supremacy. Right next to all those other boogeymen is fucking rifles. Could it be that? I don't know. Handguns make up such a large portion, yet Dems ignore this because there's little media coverage and thus no outrage to riot or legislation on the back of, and that these crimes take place in heavily liberal cities with strict firearm laws, contradicting the ridiculous notion that criminals will even follow a law that's put in place to fucking begin with. I stand by my statements that I've made on Twitter and in previous situations. If politicians were really interested in reducing gun violence, they'd disarm the police. They'd disarm the military. But let's be honest here. It's not about lowering violence. It's about control. And it always has been. Kind of ironic considering the topic that's preceding this one is going to be one of satire, isn't it? But I'm not done. Before we move on to the satire, I'm going to continue to rail against this very idea that making laws is actually going to stop somebody from doing something. If you really want to stop these mass shootings, stop giving them so much fucking attention, you fucking unbelievably vacuous-minded individuals. But you won't. Because you have a political agenda to fucking push. And you're pushing it at the behest of those that seek to gain the most from that political agenda. Think about that for a second. Anyway, I'm going to finish this video off with a much lighter and far quicker topic. The Babylon Bee is a satire news site that has managed to maintain their relevance despite real life itself becoming parody, my previous topic to be a subject of said parody. Well, this happened, and of course, being a shot at Snopes, who had recently started flagging the satire website, claiming that people have a hard time discerning between parody and reality. And that's more of a conversation on how shit has gone so crazy than people being dense. Not that people generally aren't dense, but hey, the reality is that Babylon Bee is clearly satire, and that Snopes claiming that they muddy the waters, so to speak, is not based on their outward appearance, but rather in a distrust in people. I can say that distrust isn't founded, but the concept of satire being flagged as not trustworthy is ironic in of itself. It has gotten to the point that the world has gone so fucking far out of whack that in order for people that are actually trying to report the news and the people that are just being funny about it, in order for that line to be clearly drawn, usually it used to be separated like water and oil. There was a clear defining line. Now it's more like orange juice and vodka. Only if it sits there for a while can you separate the two. But anyway, that about does it for this video. I've talked your fucking ears off for damn near 18 minutes now. So, with that said, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, and or night. I will be tackling neoconservatism in my next study of philosophy. And I will probably be seeing you in that one next, if anything else, unless something comes up in the news. And let's face it, these past couple of months, or past couple of weeks rather, are going to be very difficult to top. So probably see you in that one. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, and or night, and I'll see you cunts in the next one.